If you've already watched the Netflix trailer for BTS, the Comeback Live Ararang that dropped today, you know exactly what moment we're talking about. The trailer runs 1 minute and 16 seconds. All 7 members appear one by one in front of JiminBakgung Palace, each getting 2 solo shots, their names printed in bold white letters on screen. The music is an orchestral arrangement of Microcosmos, a 2019 song that has long been the symbol of BTS's bond with their army. Everything about it feels cinematic, massive, and emotional. But out of everything the 7 members said in that trailer, one short sentence from one member has been living rent-free in the heads of millions of people ever since. That sentence came from Jimin, and it was only 4 words. Let's get back out there. Before we go deeper, we need to understand the full context of this trailer. Because without that context, you can't fully feel why those 4 words from Jimin carry a different weight than anything the other members said. The trailer doesn't open with a shot of BTS. It opens with the sound of army. You hear the roaring crowd, the familiar chants, the stadium energy that used to feel like home for these 7 people. Then the trailer cuts to footage of fans reacting when BTS announced their hiatus in 2022, as one by one each member began their mandatory military service. It was a heavy decision, but one that couldn't be avoided. South Korea requires all men to complete their military service. Jin was the first to enlist in 2022. Suga was the last to be discharged on June 21, 2025. And after that, for the first time since 2022, all 7 members of BTS were finally free and reunited as a complete group. That trailer is the product of that reunion. And Netflix didn't choose the words each member spoke randomly. Every line was carefully selected to reflect each member's character, while building the emotional narrative Netflix wanted to deliver to the world. RM, as the group's leader, delivered 2 lines. The first, "We promised our fans that we'd be back." The second, "7 together, we can do anything." Both are powerful statements, full of responsibility and weight. Exactly who RM is as a leader. Jungkook said, "So emotional. I really miss them." And you can feel the honesty in that, the simplicity of a Jungkook who has never been good at hiding what he feels. The other members spoke about the journey, about how much had changed, about the belief that the 7 of them could keep walking forward together. Every single one of those lines is beautiful. Every one of them is moving. But none of them hit the chest the way Jimin's 4 words did. Let's break this down honestly and carefully, because there are several layers here that might not be immediately obvious the first time you hear it. First, notice the specific phrase Jimin chose. Not "let's go back," not "let's return," but "get back out there." The phrase "get back out there" carries a very specific connotation. It's something you say to someone who is in the middle of a recovery, someone who may have fallen, or been hurt, or gone through a difficult stretch, and who is now ready to rise again. It's what a coach says to an athlete after an injury. It's what a best friend says after a breakup. It's a phrase that holds both encouragement and understanding at the same time, because the person saying it knows firsthand just how hard the process of getting there actually was. And the words out there carry their own meaning. Not just back to the stage, but back out into the world, back into the noise, the spotlight, the place where everyone is waiting. There's courage in it, and there's something that feels like a push, not just for the people around him, but for himself too. Jimin didn't say, "I can't wait." He didn't say, "We're ready." He used the word, "let's." Together. That's an invitation, not a declaration. And that invitation feels like it's aimed in 2 directions at once, toward his 6 members, and toward the millions of ARMY who have been waiting for nearly 4 years. Now think about the timing of when that line is delivered in the trailer. It doesn't come at the beginning, when the energy is still building. It doesn't come at the very end, as a final crescendo. It comes somewhere in the middle, right at the point when the emotional tension of the trailer is at its highest, right when you've already felt the weight of the hiatus and the reunion and everything those 2 years meant. Jimin's line arrives at exactly the moment when you need someone to break the stillness and say, "Enough looking back. Let's move." And that timing is not accidental. Whether it was Jimin's choice or Netflix's editorial decision, the placement of those 4 words is a masterclass in emotional storytelling. There is also something worth noting about the way Jimin says it. He doesn't shout. He doesn't whisper. His delivery sits in that precise middle space between controlled and open The voice of someone who has thought carefully about what they want to say and has decided that simplicity is the only way to say it honestly. In a trailer full of cinematic visuals and orchestral music, and the weight of everything BTS represents, Jimin's voice cuts through not by being louder than any of it, but by being quieter. And sometimes the quietest thing in the room is the one that everyone hears the most clearly. Now we need to talk about who Jimin is within BTS, because that context is essential to understanding why these words hit so differently coming from him. Jimin joined BTS after being personally invited by Big Hit Entertainment while he was still studying at Busan High School of Arts, just months before the group's official debut. He came in as a dancer with a background in contemporary dance, and from the very beginning, he was known as the member who demanded the most from himself. There are countless stories from his trainee days and early debut period about how Jimin would practice alone well past official training hours, how he constantly felt he wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy of standing on stage alongside the other members. That wasn't weak insecurity. That was the pressure of a standard he set for himself, a standard far higher than what anyone else demanded of him. And the paradox is that this is precisely what made Jimin one of the most captivating performers this industry has ever seen. Every movement feels precise but also full of feeling. Every performance feels like he's giving something away that he can't get back. This is actually one of the things that separates Jimin from a lot of performers who reach his level of fame. Many artists at the top of the industry develop a kind of protective distance from the audience, a layer of persona or spectacle that keeps the real person hidden behind the performance. Jimin has never done that. Even as BTS grew into one of the biggest bands on the planet, even as the production around them became more elaborate and the stages more massive, Jimin always found a way to make it feel personal. Like he was performing not for the crowd but with them. That quality, the ability to make 50,000 people in a stadium feel like they're receiving something meant specifically for them, is extraordinarily rare. And it is entirely Jimin. There's a specific moment that longtime ARMY often point to when trying to explain this to someone who doesn't understand the Jimin effect. During the 2019 Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tour at Wembley Stadium, Jimin performed Serendipity, his solo song, in front of nearly 90,000 people. The stage was enormous. The production was massive. And yet somehow, watching the footage back, it feels intimate. It feels like a conversation. That's not something you can teach or manufacture. That's something that comes from a performer who genuinely believes that every single person watching deserves to feel seen. During the hiatus, Jimin stayed active and released music as a solo artist. But there's a massive difference between dropping songs as a soloist and standing on a stage with 6 people who feel like family, in front of an ocean of ARMY who have been waiting for years. Those two things are not the same. And the phrase, "let's get back out there," captures both of them at once. Then there's the context of a song playing underneath the trailer. Netflix chose Microcosmos as the soundtrack, and that was not a random decision. Microcosmos was first released in 2019 as part of the Map of the Soul Persona album. The song is about the light that exists inside every person, about how every life shines like a star in its own unique way. It has long been one of the most emotional songs at BTS concerts, often performed near the end of a show with ARMY's light sticks glowing across the entire stadium. Choosing that song as the audio backdrop for this trailer was Netflix's way of saying, this is not just a concert. This is something bigger than that. And over that music, over the images of Gyeongbokgung Palace shifting from day to night, over the faces of 7 members appearing one by one with their names clearly written, Jimin's words are heard. 4 words, but the weight of them feels like 4 years, finally finding a direction. Within hours of the trailer dropping on March 5th, 2026, the video had already been watched tens of millions of times. The comments on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of them flooded with the same reaction, Jimin's moment. Many people cried. Many wrote that they had to rewatch his part over and over. Some said they couldn't believe 4 words could make them react that hard. Others said they had been waiting over 3 years to hear Jimin's voice carry that kind of energy. Not melancholy, not longing, but ready and lit up. That might be the most important thing to understand here. Jimin didn't say, "I miss you," or "I can't wait to see you." Several members expressed that feeling of longing. But Jimin chose to say something that felt like forward motion. "Let's get back out there," is the sentence of someone who has already processed the longing, already moved through it, and is now ready to act. What makes this even more striking is the sheer restraint of it. In an industry built on maximalism, big statements, dramatic reveals, carefully choreographed emotional moments, Jimin gave us 4 words. No vocal run. No tearful pause. Just 4 words delivered with a calm certainty that somehow communicated everything a 10-minute speech couldn't. That kind of restraint is its own form of power. It's the confidence of someone who doesn't need to perform the emotion because the emotion is simply there, underneath the surface, doing its work quietly. And fans felt it. Not just the ARMY, who have followed BTS since the beginning, but people who stumbled across the trailer without any prior context. Comment sections across platforms were filled with people saying things like, "I don't even know who BTS is, but something about this guy's face when he said those words made me stop scrolling." That's not fandom. That's just a human being recognizing something real in another human being. And that recognition, that moment of genuine connection across language and culture and distance, is ultimately what Jimin has always been about as a performer. There's one more thing worth sitting with before we talk about the concert itself. And that's the question of what this specific moment means not just for BTS, but for Jimin personally as an artist. Over the past few years, the conversation around Jimin has evolved in a way that even longtime ARMY may not have fully mapped out. When he released his debut solo album Face in 2023, it made history as the first solo album by a Korean artist to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. That was not a small thing. That was a statement. It said that Jimin, separate from the group, had the kind of global pull that very few artists in any genre can claim. Then came his collaboration with Jungkook on Who later that year, which dominated streaming charts in ways that reminded the industry why BTS, even in pieces, remains one of the most powerful forces in music. And throughout all of it, while fulfilling his mandatory military service, Jimin was doing what he has always done: working, thinking, preparing. So when you hear "let's get back out there" from him now, you're not just hearing someone who missed performing. You're hearing someone who spent 2 years in a kind of creative hibernation, building towards something, and who is now standing at the edge of it. That energy, the energy of someone who has been saving something up, is exactly what makes that phrase land the way it does. Think about the athletes who come back from injury stronger than before. Think about the musicians who disappear for years and return with their best work. There's a specific electricity that comes from someone who has been patient, who has been quiet, who has been preparing, and who is now ready to show you what that time produced. That's what Jimin's 4 words carry. Not just excitement, not just relief, the quiet confidence of someone who knows exactly what they're walking back into, and who is no longer afraid of it. And that's ultimately why his line hits differently than the others. Not because the others weren't sincere, they absolutely were. But Jimin's line didn't describe a feeling. It issued a direction. It was a call to action. For himself, for his members, and for every single ARMY who has been holding on. This Netflix concert is an extraordinary event on a global scale. BTS The Comeback Live Arirang will be streamed live from Gwanghwamun Square in Seoul on March 21st, 2026 at 8 p.m. Korean time. This is BTS's first full group concert since 2022, and it will be the live world premiere of songs from the album Arirang, their 5th studio album, releasing just 1 day earlier on March 20th. The concert is being directed by Hamish Hamilton, the same director behind the Super Bowl halftime show and the 2026 Grammys. Gwanghwamun Square was not chosen without reason. It's one of the most iconic landmarks in Seoul, set against the backdrop of Gyeongbokgung Palace, a symbol of Korean history and identity. BTS performing here isn't just a music event. It's part of something that reaches far beyond the music industry. And 1 week after the concert, Netflix will also release the documentary BTS, The Return, directed by Baungwin. The documentary will go behind the scenes of the making of Arirang, including the most personal moments from the reunion of all 7 members after years apart due to military service. But all of it started with one trailer, 1 minute and 16 seconds, and 4 words from Jimin that somehow managed to say everything. We live in an era where content is produced at an incredible speed, where every single day there are hundreds of moments claiming to be the most emotional, or the most viral, or the one that broke the internet. We've all become a little immune to that kind of hyperbole. But every once in a while, there's a moment that actually cuts through all of that One that feels real even in the middle of a content cycle that never stops. Jimin's line in this trailer is one of those moments. Not because it's complex, precisely because it isn't. Let's get back out there. No metaphors, no poetic lyrics. Just 4 words from someone who has been away from out there for a long time and who is finally ready to return. And here's the thing about moments like this, they don't age. 10 years from now, when people look back at the BTS comeback of 2026, this trailer will be the document they return to. Not because of the visuals, not because of the music, not even because of what happened at the concert itself, but because of a single sentence that captured the exact feeling of an entire era coming to an end and a new one beginning. That's what great art does. It freezes a feeling so perfectly that anyone who encounters it, even years later, can feel exactly what the people in that moment felt. Jimin did that in 4 words. So before March 21st arrives, before the album drops and the concert streams, and the world moves on to the next thing, sit with this trailer for a moment. Watch Jimin's face, listen to how he says it, and ask yourself, when was the last time 4 words from anyone made you feel that much? Because that answer, whatever it is, tells you everything you need to know about why ParkJimin is one of the most important performers of his generation. And on March 21st, at Gwanghwamun Square, under the lights shining down on Gyeongbokgung Palace, Jimin and his 6 members are going to prove that those words weren't just words. They were a promise, and they are on their way to keeping it. If you haven't watched the trailer yet, go watch it right now on Netflix. The Arirang album drops March 20th, the Netflix live concert is March 21st, and the BTS, the Return documentary premieres March 27th. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you've already seen the trailer, drop a comment below. Which moment hit you the hardest? See you in the next one. Army, we are not waiting alone.